Nigel, you're glitching. Oh, there we go.
Good evening again, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, Latte Night. Again, second one for the day. Today we're joined with Erika of Mage Gaming. Thanks
What's
for
up?
making the time to join us
Hello.
here.
Of course, it's no problem. Thank you for inviting me.
So, I think it's become a running thing with all our guests now. So, I'm Nigel, TJ, Jay. Since we've asked everyone else, might as well get to know you for a little bit. What's your earliest experience with tabletops, RPGs, and what was your first game ever?
First game ever, to be honest, Snakes and Ladders when I was a kid. Also,
Counts.
Monopoly, like as a
Counts.
child as well. I would say my earlier experiences with tabletop games were very like basic, and it was when I really got into D&D. That's when I really got into the genre as well. And I would say that D&D is my main game right now. Again, I'm not limiting myself. I'm also open to learning other games. But as of now, like D&D is what I am most invested in. I am a DM as well, an AL DM. So that's most of the TTRPG stuff I do now. And apart from that, I am also a gamer. So it's really just D&D, the Switch, and PC gaming as well. That's what I do now.
Yeah, I wish I could play Fire Emblem as well as you, but I can't.
No, it's okay. It'll take time, promise. Like I had to go through like more than 40 hours in the game to get that good. Like I'm telling you. It's a long process.
Before everyone's reference, because Adventurers League is not too commonly known, or it is
Yeah,
known, but
it's
the process and how to get into it and what to do. So, can you give like a short background of it for everyone watching?
okay. Well, I'm pretty sure your viewers are very familiar with Homebrew Dungeons and Dragons, meaning the DM has complete control of their own rules. They can remove certain rules from the canon and replace it with their own. Also, sometimes homebrew games can go on literally forever. Sometimes we don't even know where and when our character will level up, what will become of them. You never know. It's really hard to tell with homebrew games unless you have a DM who's like really structured and they understand that the story has a beginning, middle, and end. But a lot of DMs these days aren't like that, and it's completely fine. It's just another kind of gameplay. For Adventures League, on the other hand, the rules were created by teams from Wizards of the Coast, which is the official canon D&D brand. I guess you can say that,
Yeah.
right? And the thing with Adventures League is I always call it perfect for people who have busy lives. Perfect for people who have lives outside of TTRPGs. Because if you sit down and you play one session, usually it varies again. One session of an AL game, you usually, according to Season 9 rules, like I'm updated with Season 9 because that's when I started, you usually get to level up already, you get magical items already, and you get other rewards that are conducive to being part of a faction. I prefer my character's faction less. That's just me. But essentially, that is what AL is. And AL DMs are quite different from other DMs in the sense that we already have a pre-written mod that we base everything on. But of course, that doesn't mean that we lack creativity or we simply follow what everything says on paper and it's like 1 + 1 = 2, not necessarily. I have had mods where I changed everything simply because I didn't like how the game was designed, but I did like the premise of the adventure. So I kept the premise and I engineered everything else on my own. And I think I streamed that as well. So there you go. Even if people might say, oh, AL is just another like MMORPG, except it's Dungeons and Dragons, or like, oh, AL people have no creativity. That's not necessarily correct, because there is a lot of creativity that you can incorporate in AL. You also can RP as much as you can, even if your character is just meant to be with this set of people, for example, just for one adventure, and then for the next set, it might be a different set of people. So because of that, your creativity is tested. You're not with the same group of people playing off each other like improv all the time. You are also playing with different kinds of people, so you have to learn how to adjust to them and how to adjust to their own quirks and so forth. So that is how I can describe like AL in a nutshell. I hope that makes sense to you guys.
Absolutely. Jay?
Yes. Yeah, I have a question. I've seen your Deadly Tagalog D&D. Can you tell
Yes.
us more about it?
Okay, so I was dared by a DM of mine. His name is DM Grok. That's how he goes by. He also, like me, he also only started giving fairly recently. And the thing with August kasi, August is buwan ng wika. And I wasn't aware of this before, but apparently like certain AL communities like to celebrate buwan ng wika by delivering their games or restructuring everything in Tagalog. So he told me that his challenge for me was to DM a set of games in Tagalog, and I also happen to be a streamer, so I thought I should probably stream it as well. And so far it's been a success with my players. They made Filipino specific characters. I have a player who's a sex bomb, for example, who's like one of the sex bomb girls. And the thing is, like, homebrew players might think that's so corny or whatever, because like you got like a celeb instead of like creating your own unique character with like a paralog. Sorry, not a paralog. I was thinking Fire Emblem. A paragraph long like backstory. But sometimes you kind of just wonder, like one day you're just like, if I show up to this Tagalog session and I'm a sex bomb girl, like just, and this can happen in AL. This can happen in AL. So I had tons of fun with it. I was able to alter certain mods to give them a Filipino flavor. Like I remember I DM'd an adventuring party walks into a bar. And what I did was I replaced each bar with bars in Poblacion. And I made sure that there were like conyo dudes who were like fighting over a girl. Like stuff like that. Like things we can normally get in the middle of when we go to Poblacion, like those things. I also remember one of my players, he decided to RP as John Lloyd Cruz, like the John Lloyd Cruz. And when I DM'd the Black Road, I remember like there were a bunch of goblins like guarding the toll, and they were like, "Stay up, whatever." And then he started to make bola, and he was like, "Sikat ako, artista ako. Di niyo ba ako kilala?" And of course, me, like, I wanted to challenge him. So I was like, "Sir, di ka naman sikat. Wala namang billboard dito." Like, we were just doing that back and forth. And then one of his teammates, like, minor illusion the billboard with his face on it. And it was branded pa. I don't know if I can say the brand in, like, a podcast, so I won't say it. But it was branded. And then, like, the guard essentially just, like, asked free stuff from that brand. And then that's how they got in without paying. And I'm just like, this is great. Like, I love it. The thing is, because of the fact that my players were so comfortable speaking in Tagalog, and even if it was hard for me to translate like certain parts of D&D into Filipino, like they were able to help me a lot with that. And they were able to like really do a lot of impressive improv because it was a Filipino setting, and because they could play around with it every single time. It wasn't so strict either, and it wasn't so centered on a world that I built. Like they get to experiment with different Filipino personalities and all that. So I really think that August is a success. And if like DMs are listening right now, and if they want to try DMing in Filipino, even if it's not perfect Filipino, like it's completely fine. It's completely fine. If players like want to be artistas or whatever, it's okay too. It's okay. Like you don't have to be like a certain, textbook D&D character with like a noble backstory or whatever all the time. Sometimes you can just have fun with it. I don't know if I'm sacrilegious for like saying these things. There may be nerds who are just
Purists.
like, who is this woman jeopardizing our culture or whatever? But I'm just like, this is fun,
There's always a
It's really
purist.
fun.
There's always a purist trying to kill people's fun.
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't-
swear to God, I'm just like, don't join my games. If you're a purist, don't join my games.
I swear
That's it.
someone will just ruin the whole avatar and Facebook type of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, we're
yeah.
all about fun. And I
Mm-hmm.
like that you discuss about Filipino type of settings. I
Mm-hmm.
play a character that is actually a mambabarang in Filipino.
That's so
Yeah,
cool. That's so
a
cool.
druid type of for deaths and bugs and stuff. Like a spore druid.
Uh-huh.
So I really, really love that you have those type of flavors.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ask, what is your motivation in creating Mage Hunt gaming?
Oh, my motivation for that. Okay. It all started because, and I don't know if she's listening, because I'm trying to like focus on you guys as much as I can. It's my first time like quote unquote streaming without like looking at the comments. It's really liberating. Anyway, going back, train of thought. Yes. A friend of mine who is a friend of mine in real life. Her name is Bea Gatmaitan. She is Yulchella Games on Facebook Gaming. Decided to showcase her bad, sick Apex skills on Facebook as a platform. And I remember I started watching her, and I didn't actually know that if you weren't like the PewDiePie or the Pokimane of your specific gaming genre, I didn't know that you could actually still earn from it and gain fans. And I noticed while she was streaming, there were these people I never met who were so invested in what she was doing, and who were readily like giving her money also for her time and her talent. And I always knew that gaming was a talent. I always knew. And I have skilled friends. I have really, really skilled friends who I think could be really competitive if they tried. It's just that it's a matter of different career. It's a matter of um, time as well allotted to being competitive. So I thought to myself, I've always wanted to be a content creator ever since I got into digital marketing, which is my full-time job. And I thought to myself, well, this platform seems extremely unique. And it's different in the sense that it's not like YouTube or TikTok or Twitter or Instagram where you have to amass a certain following just to get that community going, just to get like loyal people supporting your stuff. It's as long as you put yourself out there. I haven't even reached 1K followers yet. I already have a community. I already have fans who talk to me. I already have people who tell me what they want to see and what they don't want to see, and they're super honest about it because I can readily talk to them. I'm not the kind of, I guess you can say, content creator or influencer who has like millions and millions of fans and who can't even look at a single comment because they're going through they're going through everything at a rapid pace. When I game, I can actually see what people are saying and I can actually respond to them. And in a way, I discovered that streaming was not just about how good you were at gaming. It was also about like showcasing like my broadcasting skills as well. I was actually a junior jock in like 89.9 for 3 years, and I wanted to be a DJ. I really, really wanted to be a DJ. But the thing is, I couldn't be a DJ because I also wanted a livable salary, and I knew that like being a DJ would be extremely hard, especially in our era of Spotify and YouTube Music,
Mm.
where instead of listening to the radio, all you do is like hook your phone up to the Bluetooth speaker, and that's what you listen to for like 2 hours or more in traffic. I knew the consumer behavior, so I thought this wasn't so sustainable. Until I discovered streaming and until I discovered, oh, like I can still have a full time job while building this like small, like great thing for myself after work. And the thing is, for me, most of the time, if I don't like go on breaks and such, it doesn't even feel like work for me. For me, it feels like I can be myself. I can be completely myself in front of an audience and create content for 2 hours or more. And I'm doing that all while I'm gaming. I'm doing that all while I'm doing something that I really like. And because of that, like some of my friends have gotten into streaming too. I know someone, her name is Quaranudes. She does art on Twitch. And before that, she used to be like a social media artist, like professionally, and I think that's still like her career path now. But art has always been her hobby. Art has always been her passion. And because of streaming, she's able to earn more just by doing her hobby and just by being like her entertaining self online. And I thought this platform I think is really right for me versus other platforms. So I thought, why not like go all out into it? And I noticed as well, while I was playing AL, that not a lot of people actually are streaming AL games. So I thought to myself, why not I stream these games also so people can just simply jump in and watch a D&D game. They don't have to worry about missing an episode. They don't have to worry about whether they have time to sit down for 6 hours. It's like they understand that this is something that they can really look forward to, sit down and watch for 2 hours or more, and then they're done. They have their fill of D&D for the day. So I thought it was really the perfect format, at least for me. And I named myself Mage Hand because I think it's the best cantrip. Just saying.
Oh,
if you don't have Mage Hand, you're kind of screwed. Like, if your party doesn't have Mage Hand, everyone's like,
Mage Hand is the best cantrip.
who's gonna touch it?
Mage Hand is a broken
Who's gonna
cantrip.
touch it? And the DM is just looking at their notes like, okay, I'm ready to tell these people what kind of damage they're gonna get because they don't have Mage Hand. So
Funny you mentioned
I thought yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because we did have a player, it was Homebrew, but we did have a player, a really powerful wizard, ended up getting to level 12, never learned Mage Hand.
Everyone
He
else
always
has Mage
thought
Hand other than him.
some other player's gonna learn that, not me.
Someone did.
I'm gonna learn the complicated stuff.
Someone did
Bahala sila mag-Mage Hand. It's like,
until he realized
Yeah.
that somewhere at the gap, you stop learning
Mhm.
cantrips and he can't learn Mage Hand anymore.
okay, and I'm just like, why? I don't know.
Taking it
Players are wild, man.
They
they're
are.
really, they're weird people.
taking it
Like,
back
honestly,
to
they're really weird. I'm
Yeah,
just
very.
like, why are you doing that? Yeah.
especially new players, you just don't know what they
Yeah.
might do.
I speaking of new players, I remember I DM'd 6 new players. A 2-hour adventure turned into like 5 hours. So I had to teach them everything. And I was like, whoo, this is really work. I'm just like, I sat down and I was like, this is not just fun anymore. This is actual work.
Taking
Yeah.
it back to AL, because unfortunately, there are people who think that AL is easier to run because you've got, like you said, you've got these pre-made modules. But
Mhm.
I think you and I both know that's not true. I've tried to run AL back in season 7. I realized it
Yes.
wasn't for me because it was a lot more work, ironically, to study these modules and then cater to the players than it was to make my own world. So could you talk a little bit about the prep work you have to put in to, for example, a new module that you haven't run yet, that you would like to run? What is the process of preparing that for the players?
Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys and say that every mod I've ran so far, I modded it for the first time, and the prep lasted an hour or less. It was because I played extensively under different DMs, and I knew what I can and can't do, what I can and can't remove from the entire document, just by myself. And essentially, I also make sure that I adjust the encounters according to APL. I think the APL system is extremely fair. I think it's very, very fair. If you guys don't know what APL system means, I actually forgot what the acronyms mean, but APL is essentially the average it's average party level. Ayan, like you get the average party level of your party, and the mod will specify certain monsters that you adjust according to their level. I think it's extremely fair, mostly because I believe that you shouldn't get your ass kicked like T1 in the T1 range. I think T2 and T4 are kind of up for grabs, honestly, because you were able to level up by then. You were able to get a good amount of games. You should know what you're gonna go through.
Yeah, I think
So,
APL is
For me,
go.
go ahead.
Yeah.
For me, it's really all about practice. Like, I know it may be daunting to DM AL mods because they're so long and you think that you have to follow everything. But to be honest, and AL mods do say this, at the end of the day, it's DM discretion. At the end of the day, you're the one who decides how to run this, this monster that you have prepared. And also, like, I also want to tell other DMs that they don't need to feel pressured by map making if it's too difficult. Like, before I got upgraded to my streaming set, before I got like a new PC and new internet, I couldn't even like load roll 20. So how was I going to be a DM? Simple. I saw another DM using Google Slides. So I used Google Slides. I use Google Slides every day for work. And then I was able to use it for D&D as well. There are token generators online. I told my players to make their own tokens. 5e Tools has a DM like a DM sheet, and all the mostly main monsters are there, unless the DM who created the AL mod modified it like so crazily that you have to use that. But more often than not, they use like canon monsters, so you just plug and play there. I'm not saying it's going to be easy at the start, because it's really not going to be easy at the start. But the more you DM, the more better you will get. I remember one of my first DMs. Sadly, he doesn't play anymore. But he told us that you become a better DM once you reach the 2-hour mark. How long is an AL mod? 2 hours, or a little above 2 hours. So once you start, you're actually like becoming a better DM. You're actually realizing what your players can and can't do, and how you should adjust these encounters accordingly. It's really all about practice. It's also all about talking to your players, asking them what kind of difficulty they want. If they really want a deadly mod, or if they don't, then you can turn the hardness down a notch or something. Because at the end of the day, these people are giving you their time and their energy. You have to reach their expectations, and a good way to do that is simply by asking them what they want. Simply asking them what they thought of the adventure, how you can improve on it later on. It's really it's very daunting and it's very scary, but it's really just all about practice as well. And there is like a multitude also of mods you can pick and choose from. If a mod is too difficult for you, you can scrap it, give it to someone else, and just find a mod that you really like, that you really want to run, and that is like good for your style as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Jay, do you think you wanted to add something?
Yeah, you mentioned DMing six newbies in one session, and that's bound to be difficult, like really difficult.
Yes, it was.
I would like to ask, amongst all of the AL games that you've ran, what is your biggest or greatest horror story as a DM?
Horror story.
Yes.
Oh, okay. By horror story, you mean like players
so
messing
bad.
up and all that?
Not really. Just
Okay.
I guess horror stories and just something that really made you go, "Why am I doing this?"
Okay. As a DM, I never experienced that, but as a player, can I share?
Go.
Can I share?
Go ahead.
Okay. There was one instance, and the game was so long. The game was like 12 hours long. And I remember like regretting so much that I wasted precious time in my day playing with this one dude. Okay, the thing is, I forgot his name. I never encountered him again, thank God. But the thing is, like with him, there were already like touches of douchebaggery. Okay. His character was a barbarian. I think that's one indicator. His character was a barbarian, and it was dwarf barbarian who looked like Michael B. Jordan. So I was like, oh, okay, he probably has like small dick energy or whatever. I was like, oh, okay, probably. And he was a Filipino man, like trying to put on this like Black Panther accent. It was very bad. It was also very racist. And I was like, oh dear, I can't believe I have to play with this guy. And the thing is, what he did, which I didn't like, which I don't do even with newbies, especially now that I'm a DM, he would coach us and he would act like the leader of the party. Like I remember after we were briefed on our mission, at first I wanted to go DM. I want to go buy my potions and antidotes, right? That's usually what you say. And then he was like, I don't know if like I don't want to do the accent, it's so offensive. But like he was like I don't know if that's the best like strategy that we should do for now. I think we should think about it, blah blah blah. Like he was really like condescending, and he was really bossing us around, and I was having none of it. So I was just like, I'm just gonna go ahead. Anyone who wants to follow me can follow me. I'm going to the potion shop right now. Yeah. And of course the DM went along with it, and the other people who wanted to buy stuff also went along with me. And I thought, okay, he's not that bad. Maybe he's just being bossy or something. And then, our party was very underpowered. And the thing is, we were under a homebrew DM. So homebrew DMs who are combat heavy tend to go overboard. I did notice that with this DM. But I also knew what we were getting into, so I didn't really think it was the fault of the DM for doing that. It's just his style. So we were against an aboleth. We weren't even level 5. We were against an aboleth with 18 AC, if I'm not mistaken.
Why?
Also, we were using Avray, which is like notorious for low rolls. So, and I was like a squishy warlock. I'm never gonna play that class again. Anyway, and then what he did was, listen, a lot of this was blocked out from trauma. But like what he did was, I don't know exactly, maybe you guys can fill it in. I really forgot what that trait was. But he had a barbarian trait wherein he would have to siphon like a huge amount of HP from a radius around him, just so he can get so much temporary HP, and just so he can be like the tank and the hero and stuff. So he did that without asking our permission, and we were all almost nerfed in that instance. We all dropped to like 1 HP. I was dead. Like I was down. And in the middle of everything, I went out of character and I told him, "Did you just nerf the whole party?" And he was like, I'm sorry, you know, with his fake voice and whatever. And I was like, no. Did you just nerf the party? And our BBEG has legendary actions and we're at tier 2. Did you just do that? Like, I was really guilting him. He was like, I'm sorry. I'm like, okay. I was just like, okay, whatever. And then I just played the game, and he was trying to be the hero of the adventure, which is a terrible way to be a player, right? Because this is a collaborative effort. You're with a party. If you wanted to be the hero of your story, ask your DM for a one-on-one session. That's how you do it. Or play a video game. That's what I do when I want to solo things. So what he did was he tried to get at the BBEG. He really, really tried to deliver that final blow, but he was also missing a lot of the time. And the person who delivered the final blow was like this small, like level 2 rogue who was like a gnome, just with an ordinary short bow. And the thing is, like, after we defeated the BBEG, we didn't even thank him for anything. We kept thanking the small guy who just did it for the sake of the whole party. And let's just say I never played with that group ever again. So that is my one true horror story as a player. And it also made me realize that as a DM, I have this personal rule, even for my homebrew setups. My personal rule is that if you need to nerf the party for a decision that you think is beneficial for everyone, you have to ask consent from them. Because these people literally put in precious time and effort to go online and research about all these, you know, like classes and backgrounds and names and all that to create something that means a lot to them. And the thing is, when you sign up for a D&D game, you consent to the DM trying to beat you, because that's what it's all about. We create the encounters. But you don't really consent to a player, you know, making you feel useless, or a player just using you so he can be, you know, like the big good guy or whatever. I mean, that's not how it works. So that game taught me a lot about gaming etiquette. And I've made sure that my tables are very safe. They're a very safe space. No douchebags allowed. They are banned forever if they do stuff like that. I am very strict. Other DMs just let that like roll past, but honestly, like I'm not like that. So, yeah, that's my horror story.
So bad.
Yes.
So bad.
Was that entertaining enough for you guys? You seem to cringe a lot, like as I was just talking about
so
this
bad.
one dude. I was like, oh.
Bad
Anyway.
memories. There are some bad memories
Bad
in
memories.
our head that's
Bad.
triggered.
Yeah, really bad memories. the thing. Oh, and this is advice for players also. If another player is being an asshole, you really should confront them. Like, it's not just about, oh, that's just his character or whatever. I mean, like, if that was the excuse, then even like asshole actors would get so many passes in this world, right? Because they're playing a character. It's like, just be a nice person. It's not hard.
I mean,
Like,
if
at
you
least
want
for
to,
me.
if you want to
Yeah.
be an asshole in game, at least give the heads up that hey, this is my
Yeah,
character. It's nothing
yeah,
personal,
yeah.
but this is how I want
Yeah.
to play. It's like, it's fine.
Yeah. It's just like, I am naturally evil. I may betray everyone. Just saying. And like, if you consent to that possibly happening, then it's okay. But if you don't, then find another.
It's time to change
just-
characters. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
EJ. Oh, I think
You're muted.
we lost his audio.
Oh, no, I'm muted.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that you kudos to you. You handled it really well. Most of the
you.
time, we handle those type of thing in game, and we
Yeah.
made some player cry.
Really? Why? What
Yeah,
happened
I
to
mean-
you guys? Maybe you can share this time.
No, it's more.
It's
Yeah.
it just got
I'm-
Why is the player
Gonna
watching?
continue.
Like, are they watching?
No. It's more of how our characters would react if he does that, and we will RP it that way. And for some reason, there are players that cannot separate personal to their in-game character.
because this
Oh,
is
really?
this is my
That's
game.
kind of creepy. Like,
That is
honestly, that's
creepy.
kind of
This
creepy.
is my
Yeah.
game, and it's a homebrew
really?
world and setting. The one I told you about with like 500 pages of everything into it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gave every player a warning. Not a really
Okay.
warning, but I give them the background that this is a roleplay heavy game. People interact. There are consequences to things. The world reacts to how you make choices, and so will the players. I gave them the
That's
warnings.
just fair.
I told them the confrontation happens. For example, TJ's character was hated by an entire town because of a decision he made, and he had to deal with that. So-
Okay.
Choices.
There are consequences to that, and I told them that it is very possible that if you make a mistake, you're gonna have to do something to make up for it, because that's how the world works. That's how this world works. Unfortunately,
yeah.
she didn't take it very well. She
Hey,
took
that's
it.
so funny.
She took it personally after I said that you're gonna have to learn to separate the personal part because we don't have a problem with you personally, but your character and the mistakes that they made, it gives an issue because some personal friends in the game died, and we
Oh,
have to,
really?
as a result of your actions. So they're gonna be mad. They're gonna be very mad. But she couldn't
At
really.
least at that moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She couldn't really split it.
And, yeah.
Mhm.
But that's it. My question is, speaking of bad players,
Yeah.
have you ever encountered as DM cheating players? I mean, it's really easy to fudge dice roll now. online.
Oh.
Or do you
And
do
not
all your
really
rolls
handle it.
online? That's the other.
Yeah. That's the thing. We
Oh,
do
they
all our
do?
roles online, so it's really hard to fudge anything when the system is gamed against you. I do believe rolling bots are unfair. I really do believe they're unfair. I've critted more times as a DM than as a player.
Yes.
And I
Told you,
feel like,
I told you.
yeah, no, I feel like it's
True.
because the rolling bots know what's
Roll
up.
20.
Especially Roll20. I don't know if you
Games
guys
are
saw
favored.
my game last night that I noped out of because I was so sleepy. And the thing is, I had a really intense workout as well. I'm so sorry I had to back out from that one at like midnight. But our rolls were so bad. Like, my modifier was +8 and I was losing. I was like, what's happening? I don't understand. But then we still won at the end of everything. We still won, but the DM was critting everywhere. I was really prepared to die. I was like, damn, I'm about to waste my time tonight. I'm just like,
It's one-
really, majorly.
One
Yeah,
of the problems.
but I've never encountered players fudging rolls, mostly because like the players I play with are very experienced, and they know that if you get a nat one, it's really useless to lie about it, because where's the challenge there? Like, you play D&D because you want your whole brain to work, excuse me, and you want a game wherein even if you have the perfect strategy, sometimes your dice rolls suck and you have to think of something else.
Yeah, because that's how
the
life
difference
works.
that's the difference between D&D and other video games. When I play other video games, as long as I know I'm good at something, I know it's gonna work, like 100%, because I've researched about it, because I've played this before, and that's what happens. I just win. But in D&D, it's different. If your dice rolls are horrible, you have to think of something else.
And it's
Yeah.
more true to life because you can plan for everything. You can be an expert in the field, and you still have that 5% chance that you're gonna fuck up. It
Yeah,
happens.
that's true. That is so completely true. I think I can relate that to martial arts because like I do jujitsu. At least I used to like before COVID happened. And I used to train like 3 to 4 times a week. This was like before D&D came into my life. I think I will still train like after COVID is gone or controlled. I'm not sure. But essentially, you have a game plan in your head. You have a certain set of moves that you know you can do and you know that you want to do. But when sparring happens or when a competition happens, more often than not, white belts like me, we ask the coach, I knew how to do this move, but it didn't work. So why didn't it work? It's real life. Just because you know how to do something doesn't mean that it can be executed perfectly, which for me like really translates to D&D. Like,
and in the same
that's just
way,
how it is. Sometimes your dice rolls up. Like,
yeah, I mean, in the same way, back to a martial arts perspective, if you are the black belt and there's a white belt in front of you and you're supposed to train him and he gets a lucky shot to your head that just happens to knock you, that rocks your world.
yeah,
It happens.
it happens. It happens.
People get lucky and people get
100%.
unlucky. So
Mm-hmm.
it's part of the game and it's part of life.
Yeah, exactly.
the-
So I feel like players like that who take things personally need to like take a step back and realize that just because the DM is your friend and just because the DM doesn't want you to fail the adventure doesn't mean that we're supposed to make this easy
Easy.
for you. If you wanted to play an easy video game, there are tons of available options on Steam. Like you don't have to play D&D if it makes you so upset and it makes your ego like so hurt and stuff. Because there are people like that. They don't want to be challenged. They don't want, difficulty in their lives. And that's completely fine. All you have to do is play a game that's suited to that. But D&D is not that game. Even if you make the mod really easy, there will be times wherein your rolls will suck or your decisions are wrong. Like according to the mod or according to something that the DM wrote for themselves. So I feel like those players just need to take a step back and realize what they're getting into and realize what they want and what they don't want. You can't tell the DM that this is what I want D&D to be. No. Like you give suggestions, but at the end of the day, it's their call on things.
It's give and
So,
take. Like
yeah.
there's
Mhm.
expectations, and I always tell other people that D&D when it comes to leveling up and everything, because if you play something like Final Fantasy, the higher level you get, things get killed in one hit. You're done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But in D&D, it's sort of like Dragon Ball's philosophy, where Goku gets stronger. Oh, here comes a stronger enemy. You're catching up again. Here comes another one, and it gets stronger and stronger. It's an escalating power level, and you're never on top. You're always playing catch up. You're always trying
you are.
to get back up from there.
Yeah.
You always
for
make us
real.
feel like that, by the way.
I mean, I gave you the warning.
It's his
okay?
job.
Thank
It's
you.
his
You're the
job.
third guest to
You guys-
validate me.
You guys should DM as well so you understand.
You're the third guest
It's
to
your
validate
job to
me.
make things fun. Yeah. No,
Um,
for real.
Here's a question. Because you've been playing Adventures League, have you, or what is the most terrifying module and what tier was it that you played in?
Tier 1, Death House.
Oh,
Have you guys
okay.
played Death House?
No, I've only heard of it, but
Okay. Oh, these
But-
homebrew players don't know the real trauma of Death House. They don't know Strahd. They don't know
yeah,
Barovia.
yeah.
You can see my eyes. I've been traumatized by
I've-
that mod.
I played the Curse of Strahd, the original, and that was
Ah,
horrible
the
for me.
original.
That was terrible for me. I was what?
It's really horrible, but it's also like probably the best written work in AL like canon. Probably.
I was-
Again, subjective.
Here, I was like 12 when I played that. I was
Oh my
just starting as a
God.
player, and I went through Curse of Strahd, and it's like Barovia, okay. And then I even tried to do a fake Transylvanian accent, and when as it played on, I was like, shit,
It's like my accent will not save me now.
nope.
There's a
Can't do
reason
this.
why it's called Death House. I won't say why. You should run it for them.
Oh my
Yeah, that's
God.
it. You should.
They
run
already
it for them.
hate me. They
No,
already-
you should run it for them.
We love you,
And just be
Nigel.
like,
love you. We
this is a
appreciate
canon
you."
adventure. This is a canon adventure. I did not write it. It's also okay. It's also a great way to tell players to get off your back. I did not write this. I am just doing what the mod says. And that's what another DM of mine did to us when he almost kicked our ass when we played A Knight's Errand, which is notoriously hard. Okay, anyway, going back to Death House. I think that without giving too much away, I don't want to give Death House away because I believe that people who are watching this need to play it without knowing anything about it. Because that's how I played it.
Exactly.
The premise is there is trouble in a haunted house. You go inside to find out what's going on. That's it. It's the simplest premise of all time. But what makes Death House different is that it forces your players to make certain terrible decisions. And you don't know what the consequence is after that. You just know that you have to escape. You don't even know if you're going to get a reward after. You don't even know what the real goal is. And that's what messes with your head. And that's what makes like horror in D&D so efficient, because not only do you have the horror of fudged rolls, you also have the horror of forced decision making, which, by the way, I don't think is a bad narrative. Other people say, "Oh, you should always have choice. There should always be like 2 to 3 paths to." Sometimes life is not like that.
Sometimes you're forced on the road.
Sometimes you are forced to make terrible, terrible choices. And that's what Death House does. And the thing is, I remember, you know how it's very hard to metagame sometimes when like you're faced with a terrible decision? It's incredibly difficult with Death House because sometimes you have a character who truly does not care about everybody, but you do personally, and you don't want to be like the evil one, but sometimes you have to do something, like it's hard for all of us. We were talking like out of character for a good 10 minutes because we were like, it's so hard to get into character right now because we just want to be good people and we just want to make the right decision, but we can't. That's the beauty of Death House. That's the beauty of horror in Dungeons and Dragons. I myself have not run Death House because I was traumatized by it personally. So I probably will run it in the future when I feel like I can handle that trauma again as a DM this time and not as a player. But I genuinely believe that instance was more traumatizing than anything a homebrew DM like shot at me. And they've shot like everything at me already that isn't like, within like snuff film, like horror movie levels. We don't sign up for that anyway. But yeah, I think that was the only mod that like severely traumatized me. That told me that, okay, everyone who thinks AL isn't legit just needs to play Death House.
Exactly.
And realize there is no escape. Realize that there is nothing you can do except you have to do the horrible thing. Yeah. I love that mod.
I haven't played Death House, but I've read the mod because I wanted to try and running it. But when I read it and when I read through Reddit and all the people's experiences, that was just I can see why this might cause some problems. It's funny.
Exactly. We had a horror warning, like we had a trigger warning at the beginning of the adventure.
You really should.
Yeah. And the DM told us if everything gets too scary for you, you can literally leave. It's okay. I know I won't give you the rewards, but you can leave. But there's a certain way this can be run, and it cannot be changed.
Yes.
If it is changed, then it's just
it loses its
not
flavor.
Gonna be as good. Yeah. It's not gonna be as good. That's just that's just the gist of it.
And it's funny because
I feel like homebrew players who really think that AL is no bitness, they just have to play Death House.
And it's funny you mentioned Death House because whenever someone asks for a very difficult campaign or a horror story, the default of some people, I know it was my default because I played through it, this was the Tomb of Horrors. But that kind of campaign is just hard because the game is hard, because there's so many traps, there's so many things to consider. It's just hard. Death House is the kind of game where you just don't sleep anymore after that. It's just
well, I slept because I love horror. But other people who don't like horror were like really traumatized by it. Like I remember there was this one girl we played with who was like, I don't think I'm gonna step foot in Barovia like ever, like after. Maybe just once again, but like, I hate this location. Like, she was straight up like, no, I'm not
Barovia's the
doing this.
worst. Barovia is the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
And
like
there is a reason why it's so hard to get out of it also.
Death
Like, it's
House.
a truly haunting location.
Death House for these two. Death House feels like the Call of Cthulhu for D&D. It's like, if you think that only Call of Cthulhu is capable of creating that kind of insanity and trauma and horror, this module prevents people from... It's enough to scare people away from playing again, to be honest. If that is the first game you've ever been introduced to, you're never going to play D&D again.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're just gonna be like, this is sadistic. People shouldn't do this for fun. It's stupid. You know, like all these things. I just got traumatized for no reason. You know, like, yeah, stuff like
The
that.
guy
But then
who
again,
wrote it
yeah,
has to be some form of sadist or sociopath. The guy who made that.
I think he's just a horror fan. Honestly, I think he's just a horror fan. Like, I have, I've seen pretty like sick movies, but at the end of the day, I really enjoyed myself. You know, I'm just like that kind of person who like knows the joy and the artistry in horror, and it's definitely in Death House. I keep saying that it's a traumatizing mod, you know, it's so scary, blah blah blah, but there is an artistry to it as well. For me, it's like even a player who doesn't know how to RP at all, who literally is just in it to play the game and to be kind of passive, cannot be passive in Death House. It's impossible. It's impossible to like sit and not do anything while all this chaos is happening. So I really do believe it is one of the best, most traumatizing ones in like the AL canon.
Even if you were
I
a
don't
player,
know if anyone can surpass it, honestly.
even if you were a player who doesn't really pay attention that much, who just wants to go killing things, once it
Yeah,
gets
of course
started,
there are players like that.
like 15 minutes in, you're gonna be forced to put the phone down. Say, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, and you start
Yeah,
wondering.
Exactly. You
Now
should
I'm
play
so
it. You
curious
should
about
DM it for them,
really
or you
wanna
should
play
play
it.
it with other
I-
people,
Funny, I
and
still
you're
have
the
the
only
mod.
one who knows what's gonna happen.
Funny, I
You
still have the
already-
mod.
You should have that burden upon yourself.
You already trained us to do terrible decisions anyway.
Yeah.
It's not.
So many
no,
bad decisions.
no,
No. This
no.
is no.
Run
This
it
is,
for us.
you
I
think
will-
this is not enough. Once you play it, you realize it's really sick. It's like sick
There
shit,
is
I promise you.
nothing I have
Yeah.
thrown at the two of you or our players that will prepare you for Death House. There's nothing I've
Yeah,
given
that's
you
true.
that
That's
is
true.
that
That's
bad.
true. And as a DM personally as well, like Death House already, I think Death House already like hit the ceiling of like how far you can go without being abusive, huh? And
Yeah,
without
yeah,
being
Of
like,
course.
you know, politically incorrect and gross and stuff. That's as far as you can go already. It just did it before anyone else.
Like, I gave you guys scenarios that ended up getting orphans killed in a town. That's nothing.
That's really nothing.
That was an easy that was an easy mistake. That was an easy consequence
It's so
to handle.
hard for me not to spoil Death House, but
Yeah,
they really
no,
need to
they
experience
they
it.
have to know that. It's like
Yeah.
I read
I
through
hope
it.
it's your introduction to AL. I really hope it's your introduction to
We've
AL.
we've never played AL, so
Okay.
I still have the mod
Right.
actually. It's just
Yeah, you can DM it. I suggest you, since they'll be level 1, I suggest just take out all the encounters except the final one.
yeah, it'll probably
That's
be a
how
boss
that's
fight.
how I played it. I remember I only had one encounter before the boss fight, and I thought this was easy, but it's not. it's not. It's not. It's emotionally taxing, and my whole brain hurt. Like, just
You've just a question. You've come across modules that are like, you know, more than one session. There are some modules that kind of last you maybe 2 or 3 games, sometimes 6.
Yeah.
What's the longest thing you've ever run under AL? Or has it always been one session?
Yeah, it's always just been one session. But I remember I ran a Night of Sorrows from 6 p.m. to a little past 12. And what was really special about that was I was on a deadly D&D run, meaning I specifically wanted to play deadly games. I specifically wanted to DM deadly games as well. Also, so I could tell my players that they have no right to get mad at me because it literally says deadly in the warning. Like, don't be dumb.
Disclaimer.
Like, just disclaimer. It was there. You consented. Anyway, It was special for me because the author's name escapes my mind right now, but he was Filipino, and I remember the first time I played that as a character, he was in the table with us. So it was, yeah, I thought that was really special. We really almost died, but he still had so much fun, and he still thought we played really well, even though it felt like we didn't, and all that. And for me, it's extremely special for me, because I remember two players failed to show up that day. So I had a party of 3. And for me, the mod said, even if it's a deadly mod, if you get a party of 3, you can run it. So I was like, okay, I will do that. And the thing is, I remember they refused my 1 short rest. And I don't know what short rest is for you guys in Homebrew, but if you get a short rest, you get a certain amount of hit points back, which is equivalent to
your hit dice,
your level D10, plus your con mod, like stacked upon all the levels. So essentially, you get like most, if not all, your health back, right? And I purposefully made the second encounter kind of easy. The first encounter was really hard. The second encounter was kind of easy. And I was like, do you want a short rest now? And they were like, no, I think we can do it. Like, it's fine. I was like, are you sure? And they were like, yeah, it's fine. I ended that game with all of them at 1 HP. All of them were at 1. And 2 went down like multiple times. And I thought to myself, this is probably like the best run game I've ever did. Because the thing is, I really want that drama. I really want players to think that they're gonna get TPK'd, or to think that they can't do it, but they succeed last minute, or they think of something that turns everything around. And that's what they did. And they played like probably like one of the best games of their lives. And I was able to create those encounters for them. It really meant a lot to me. So it's my longest game. I think it's also my best game. And I'm so glad I have it recorded and it's on the internet forever. I'm so glad it was streamed. So
we need to find that. But
yeah. It's somewhere in my page. Yeah.
It's a misconception with D&Ds that every time you're thrown up against something that seems too hard, that seems designed to kill you. 1, it is designed to kill you. And 2, that's part of the fun, is that D&D at the core, Homebrew or AL, is you being this weakling growing into something creative, something powerful, a hero. And you can't have that unless you have this overlooming fear that you're going to die from this. How do I get out of it? And it fosters the creativity.
Yeah, and the thing is, at the end of the day, players are not gods. Yeah. There is no god race. Even elves who are so old can be killed. Like, just like that, right? So what I love about D&D is that it scales everything up accordingly, especially in AL. That even if you think now, for those of you who have not even gone to T2, T3, T4, you think that, that's a lot of homebrew people think like this. It should honestly be revised in their heads. But sometimes they think that I can't get to this certain level because that means everything would be too easy for me. Or sometimes DMs think that way, na parang, I can't make them level 20 or I can't make them level 17 or something because everything would be too easy. But no.
There's always something that will kill you.
I have played mods wherein I dealt a record-breaking 110 damage in 1 turn. And the DM would be like, congrats! The monster's HP is now double digits. That's it! And I was at it for like, what, 2 hours? 1 hour? Even if you are at that level where you think you are a god, there is always a monster in the canon who will remind you otherwise.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't think it should be an excuse for players or for DMs to not level up.
Yes.
Because no matter how far you will get, there will always be something that can kill you. I promise you.
Yeah, you're all level 20. Congrats. Here's a Tarask for you.
Yeah.
You can't even kill it.
I'm telling you now, there are monsters with 25 AC. I won't say what.
There are.
But it's real. I've seen it. And I will run it soon. But like, I've seen it.
25 AC with a plus 15 or plus 17 to hit you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your AC is.
Advantages on saving throws.
And legendary actions.
Yes, and legendary actions.
And legendary resistance.
Yeah.
This is,
So you have to level up, or else you will never challenge yourself that way.
like I said,
Just think about that.
it's an
Yeah.
escalating power. It's like, yeah, you're getting stronger. These things are too.
Yeah, yeah, and for me, that's just perfect game design. It's the foundation of the games we love so much now. It's the foundation of games where you have to decide who's tank, who's support, who's carry, all these things. That's kind of what you have to decide in D&D too, unless you're one of those parties who's kind of a mess, then like that's your fault. But like other parties, like we really decide on those things. Like I think like my party right now hasn't decided on a perfect composition yet, but we're like on the way there. It's also the foundation of like crazy hard games like Sekiro, like Dark Souls. Like stuff like that really mess you up. But the thing is, that these games have been beaten, so that you can do it too. Like that's what's so cool about AL. Even like no matter how hard a mod is, you read stories of people online who have done it before, so that means you can do it, right? That's just what it means. So again, going back to the earlier point, don't get mad at your DMs for making things hard, because it's their job, and it's because you signed up for this. If you wanted to just RP and have a good time, maybe go to a theater class. I don't know, like I'm just or like an improv class. There's nothing wrong with theater or improv. I love watching theater and improv, but it's also not D&D.
Yeah.
That's the thing about our group. Like, we call him a sadist and then we call ourselves masochists because we come back every time. No matter how horrible it is.
Yeah, and the thing is, you consent to these encounters, so
we enjoy it.
So
yeah. It's game sense. It's why we sit down for hours to beat a boss. I always compare it to video games because I love video games too. And
again, kudos to Nigel, because we are around level 11 now and we don't really feel invisible.
Yeah.
Good.
We feel really vulnerable.
Good. That should carry on until you reach tier 4. Like
it's
that's
actually
what really should carry
it's actually come to a point where they're afraid of leveling up because of the things that they know they're gonna have to face after leveling up.
That's good. That's good.
So scared.
I have fears of leveling up every day. I have a T4 character now again, like the damage dealer that I thought of a while ago. She's a samurai fighter halfling with dual wielding and two-handed fighting. So she's very powerful.
Explains the damage.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage. And level 22 AC, if I'm not mistaken. I still almost got killed in Knight's Errand. Like, my character is a boss will girl, but she almost died. Like, there are ways. There's
always
ways
a way to kill
feel
me.
small.
There's always
So for me, DMs again, don't be afraid of leveling up your characters. That just means that you have to level up as well.
Yeah, one thing also that I'm afraid, if Nigel gives us some sort of powerful weapon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's a bad thing. Bad sign.
I take
get excited about it.
Because I take homebrew things, and I always try to balance things. I do homebrew a lot, and I make a lot of high items, and then I give it to them, and it's like, when they first started, because both of them are nearly a year or over a year into D&D, because I was the reason they came into it. Whenever I gave them items at the start, they was like, oh shit, this is really cool, I can kill things with it. And for the next few encounters, like, it's a goblin, one hit, easy. And then later on, at the end of this arc, they find out why they have that weapon. And they find out why it doesn't really make you a god. It's because you're going to need it. And I gave it to you because of that. And now it comes to a point where they're afraid. Whenever they find something really powerful, they start to become afraid. Because they know I'm going to throw things at it.
Yeah.
I know.
Here's my question, is that the reason I like homebrew so much is because I also try to create my own monsters, my own demons. It's an outlet for me. It's for me writing. So obviously we're different. So there's a reason why you're more inclined to Adventurous League. There's a reason you love it more than homebrew. So what is the main reason why you prefer Adventurous League over homebrew, and why you think some people who are in homebrew should give it a try? Or should really get into it?
This is what I believe. At least for me and for a lot of my friends. We are multifaceted people. We have a lot of interest. And we don't have a lot of time on our hands because we are adults. with full-time jobs and everything like that. I think homebrew DMs are they could be a lot better at time management than I am, but I also write professionally. I also write for a bunch of magazines. I'm published in a lot of Summit publications. I'm published in Rappler as well. So for me, like, this is my profession. This is what I have to prioritize during the day. And at night, I want to be a successful streamer. So I also design my content calendar. I also meet with my content team. We haven't launched yet, but we will launch eventually. And I also play other games because I'm a huge fan of the Nintendo Switch. I'm only starting to get into PC games. I play mobile games too. You have a Switch.
He has everything.
He has everything.
You should see all his retro games.
Oh my god, that's so cool. That's so cool. Well, we can talk about that later. It might consume the it might consume the episode. Okay. Yeah. Going back. So I admit that I don't have enough time to really forge everything on my own. I know I can. I know it's possible. It's not impossible. There are also like a bunch of tutorials that can help me out on YouTube and everything. I can watch like all these things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I do have other priorities apart from D&D. But I want to play. But I want to be a good DM. But I still want that, fulfillment of game design. And for me, AL makes it so much easier for me to do all those things, to give these players the kind of experiences that they deserve, because they're on limited time as well. Most, if not all, my players have full-time jobs. Most, if not all, of my players are not available anytime before 6 p.m. at night, sometimes on weekends. So how are they possibly supposed to sit down for a whole day and play D&D with me? They just can't. And I can't do that for them as well because I have other responsibilities. But that doesn't mean I can't give them the kind of experience in D&D that they really want. And I can successfully do that with AL mods now that I've done it so many times. And again, it doesn't mean that I lack creativity as well, because like I said, there have been mods where I changed completely everything except the premise. I love that with AL, it gives you that ease of playing. It gives you that ability to just have your whole day, like slotted out for you. Just have an hour to prep, and you still have an amazing game at night. I also think that AL gives you more free form to explore other characters. If you commit to like one homebrew game, which is a lot of time already, most likely you will be a bard for 2 years. You probably will not know what the other classes do, or if ever you do, it's only via the NPCs you met, or it's only via your other players. What AL gives you is AL gives you the freedom of time. You can plot your games in a calendar, like according to your schedule, because usually how it works with us is the DMs post like their schedule, and it's up to players to sign up.
Yeah.
So, okay, I can only play D&D like thrice this week, or sometimes even once this week. 2-hour games only. Okay, I can do that. The DMs have multiple games up, and I'm freer next week. So that means I can be a paladin one day, I can be a bard on the next day, and on another day I can multi-class Sorkla. And I think I can explore all these things properly. And I've had like excellent players, like the best players I've ever DM'd ever in my life, who are excellent at RP, who are excellent at their technicals, and they're AL players. So I wouldn't say it's a very limiting format as well. But I wouldn't say that, because there are tons of experiences to be there. Yeah, there are tons of games, tons of experiences to be different people, sometimes all at once. Like I'll be honest, like I have Rinko, my samurai fighter halfling, who looks like she can be like the protagonist of the next Ghost of Tsushima video game. And I have like a tita, like a tita tiefling who's 53 years old, and her name is Tita Cecilia from Poveda. Like I can do these two things. And I have more characters than that. And it's all because AL offers me that freedom. I'm not tied down to one specific world. Well, I kind of am. I'm tied down to Faerun. But sometimes I can go to Eberron, right? And there will be another world up soon with season 10.
Yep.
So, yeah, I really just like the freedom. And I really like that it's something I can consistently do until I'm older, because I know I will get busier with time. Like, I know there's a possibility that I may have my own family in the future, and that will occupy so much time, right? And my parents will get older. I'll have to take care of them too. All these things, like, it's just responsibilities on top of other responsibilities. But D&D will never take a backseat because it'll always be there. There will always be mods, and there will always be like multiple DMs ready to run games. And I think that's so cool. It sort of gives busy people like me like a chance at this game. I didn't think I had a chance at this game before, and then like AL happened to me. So
exactly, AL takes out a lot of the time and gives a schedule for people to follow. It's a nice way, and even if you don't change the entire module, that doesn't mean that there's no room for creativity there, because oftentimes you have to be more creative to make something that's already fixed interesting.
Yes, exactly.
Even if you don't change it, you follow it to the letter, you have to be creative to make that really interesting and different, especially if someone has already run through it and they're just running again with a new character. It takes a lot of thinking, right? There's a lot of thinking involved to make this thing interesting to the same person again. And that's where creativity bleeds in.
And again, you don't have a fixed party.
Yep.
So you're always performing, and I do know that being a DM is work. I do know it's performing in front of someone. You're always performing in front of a different audience. Like, is that not difficult? Is that not challenging?
Yeah.
I would say homebrew DMs have probably less stage fright than we do, because you guys are usually at your own trusted table with your own trusted group of friends. Sometimes I've done games wherein I've only met this certain person like on the day off. I don't know what their expectations are. I don't know if they like hate how my voice sounds, or like all those insecurities that like get to you, right? But the thing is, you have to shoulder through it and power through it because you love what you're doing so much, and because this is the format that you chose to work with. So I want to challenge myself too, and be like, hey, even with all these difficulties, I can still like mount a pretty amazing game. So yeah, that's what I think, at least.
I think we're a little bit over time already, but
oh my god, I'm sorry.
No, it was wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
And
thank you for having me, guys.
If you ever want to try homebrew, we're planning on streaming a homebrew campaign once a week. If you ever want to try that or be a guest on it, you're absolutely welcome to do so. And if you ever need fresh blood to torture in a bunch of very traumatizing AL modules, I'm offering these guys up and myself to be tormented.
Let's if I run Death House, I'll run it with you people. I'll run it with you guys. You're not allowed to tell them anything.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell them anything, but
I'm not even googling it.
I mean, I'm not gonna tell them anything, but I don't want to lose my players, so but it's fine.
Yeah, that's true. I myself have nothing to lose. I'll always have players, even if I'm this bad, so like it's okay with me. It's okay with me if I run Death House for people who don't know me that well yet. I'm like, oh, that's fine. I have nothing to lose.
It's an easy way to get blocked.
Yeah. So, I hope you guys don't block me, but you might. I'm just saying you might.
Nah, I know what I'm getting into, but these two, I can't make promises. So thanks for being on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for spending this hour with us. We love having you. If you could just send me all the links you would want me to link in, so I can put it on the descriptions. And good night to everyone else. Bye.
Yay! Good night, guys.